Hey y'all, this is Kobe R. Rice, and I'm back again after about a week and a half of being away. I really tried to get to you guys this Monday, but unfortunately, it just was like not working out. My weekend was packed. I had my kid the whole weekend. I had like presentations and like rough cuts and all kinds of stuff due this Monday, and then things just kind of blew up on Tuesday. It's just constant chaos. And I'm not really sure if it's just like my life or my bad luck, or if this is just how juggling graduate school, motherhood, TAing and working that job, and then also like building a business. I guess every single one of those areas comes with chaos, and sometimes those balls tend to explode or drop at the same time, and then you're a hot ass mess and just being crazy. So in any case, this weekend has been insane. I haven't really been getting much sleep, although I'm working on it right now. So I always, the one thing that you can do, and that what I do is, if you're wondering if you're getting enough sleep, always check your skin. It will always show in your skin. And the only reason why I'm looking delightfully smooth and supple today is because I got a good night's sleep last night for the first time in a few days, and I'm in some good lighting. And shea butter, by the way. And this is not only for black women or black people, but for those of you who have like a fairer skin tone, shea butter will hook you up as well and just have you feeling just supple and luscious and looking ridiculous. Anyway, you did not come here for my beauty tips. You came here for an update. And I have quite the update. I don't know if you can see my little card here. All right. There's like a lot of stuff going on. But this is episode number 39, Kobe R. Rice. Grad school is dark and full of terrors. That is what I titled the episode for this week, because it was just pretty insane. And before I actually get into the actual events of the week, I just want to remind you guys, one, that I am running New Adult Noir, which is a book blog and author promotion website geared towards helping readers discover the darkest, grittiest, kick-assiest sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and SFFH romance novels ever known to mankind. So please make sure you navigate to the link below if you are a reader, and check out a lot of our great deals that we have going on. We have our monthly free Dark and Gritties, which is every single month, again, we give out a new batch of novels that are dark, gritty in the sci-fi, fantasy, and horror genres, in the romance genres, and they're 100% free. And so you can go and get your life, get your read on, and get introduced to some new amazing authors who write the kind of dark, gory stuff. And not all of it's gory, but a lot of it is dark and gritty. If you're into that we are the hub for you, that you need to come and check us out and just get your life. We also run a series discovery promo every month on the blog. So this month, for the month of September, we have 10 amazing, when I say amazing, like I really mean amazing. Like I cannot wait to, dive into some of these and finish others that I've already started. But we have some amazing new series that we are promoting on our blog every single month. We have 10 this month in, all the different genres that we cover. We have some sci-fi series. We have some, paranormal romance series, shifter romance, crime series, like all these, paranormal mystery, supernatural thriller. We have fantasy series. We have all different kinds of series that we want to present to you guys. In case you don't want to just grab one book, you can grab an entire series of books, and we are presenting those to you and those authors to you this month on our blog. So again, if you're interested, make sure that you stop by newadultnoir.com. That's NEWADULTNOIR.com. All right, so that's my little sort of spiel, because that's the company that's basically sponsoring this podcast and it's basically sponsoring my entire business and my entire life. And speaking of sponsorship, I just want to let you guys know this is actually one of the first things I want to update you on. I am currently rebooting my Patreon page, and the Patreon page is going to be dealing with supporting the entire Rebel Ragdoll franchise from the ground up. We are working on not only our milestones, but we're also working on our tiered goals. So if you're interested in supporting this show, the Bohemian Badass podcast, or any of the other like awesome projects we have going on at Rebel Ragdoll, you can always go to patreon.com and look us up. And I'm actually not going to put the link there today because I really want the page to be set up and on point and ready for you guys, so that you can go in and look around and just like get your life and decide which tier you would like to contribute to. If you are getting any kind of value from anything that we do at Rebel Ragdoll, we would love for you to become a part of our community and our family and to help us continue to do those things and launch those projects. Okay. But that link will be coming in the coming weeks once the Patreon page is set up, because I don't like launching things half-assed. I like doing it big, doing it just beautifully packaged and launching things when they're ready. So that's how I roll. Okay, so graduate school. And if you're watching the vlog version, you would have seen my face just go all crazy just now because it's been kind of kicking my ass. But I'll reiterate some points that I made last week, just a couple points. I am really, truly enjoying graduate school this semester. It's still rigorous. There's still a lot of work to be done, and it can still be very taxing, both physically, spiritually, emotionally. But this year compared to last year is a complete 180, and I am so excited and really happy to be here. I know it doesn't show on my face because I'm still a little tired, but I'm completely getting like all of my lives in my dramaturg and the classic play class, and that's actually the class that was weighing the heaviest on me this week, and that should lighten up a little bit over the next couple of weeks because I had a presentation on Oedipus Rex. And a lot of you guys, if you've ever read it, I'm sure most of you guys, if you have gone through at least high school, you would have at least heard of Oedipus Rex, if not read it. It's one of the 30 surviving Greek plays, Greek tragedies that are out there, written by Sophocles. And, I've read it a few times in my academic career, which has been like a long career, but this is like the first time I was really actually able to appreciate it, specifically because I am learning about Oedipus Rex in a theater and theatrical and performance context. Every single time I've been exposed to Oedipus Rex prior to this has always been through an English or literature perspective, and that's an interesting perspective, but there's just there are so many different dimensions to Oedipus and to pretty much any stage play that I really think that English teachers, no offense to you guys, y'all should just kind of leave that alone. Just leave those old plays alone, leave Shakespeare alone, just leave it alone and let the theater departments teach that, because just the entire perspective that theater departments have on stage plays, because that is their medium, is to me much more fruitful and much more three-dimensional. So not only am I learning about the language and about sort of the rhythm and the meter of the play, which you would learn in an English class, not only am I learning about the literary aspects of it, I'm also learning about the performative aspects of it, the historical context, why the play would have been written, for what audience, what we call the social function of the play. A lot of Greek plays were basically made to be religious devotions to God. They're essentially the church service, of the community, which is very interesting when you think about, the many different kinds of theater we have with regard to religion today. Anyway, so I didn't want this to become a lesson in Greek tragedy. I just want to say that I really did enjoy reading and breaking down Oedipus from a dramaturgical perspective. I'm learning how to trace the action of a play through an entire play. I'm learning about the function of exposition. And if you're a screenwriter, you sort of already know, or an English major, you already know to a certain degree what exposition is and what it's supposed to be. But in theater, exposition does a bunch of extra things that I don't think we are really taught as screenwriters or as like novelists or short story writers. And I feel like, the being in this class is giving me a completely different perspective on being in, on like studying classic theater and modern day theater, come to speak of it. So that's one of my favorite classes, in short. Oh, for those of you again watching the vlog version, you'll see like my apartment is a little bit in disarray. Just don't judge me. Just like roll with it. I'm busy. I'm a single mom doing the damn thing. So just like leave me alone. Okay. So that's a side note. Also, I wouldn't say I finished my first rough cut in my editing class, but I'm on my way to finishing it. I have to finish that up this weekend, learning RABID, getting my life, and it's actually like not that hard. I mean, I'm not saying that editing is easy, don't get me wrong, but once you sit down and you learn about the technical aspects of the program and you get some basics down, like then you can start little by little by little to build on those basics. And so I really would invite you guys to like take an editing class, like just to sit down and learn like the technical aspects of editing, the JKL functions, just like everything. I mean, and the thing is, like, again, for those of you who are actually like super experienced as editors, you're gonna be sitting here laughing at me like, she's talking about JKL, how basic. Well, guess what? Like 4 weeks ago, I didn't know shit about JKL or about transcoding or about like, how to set up a new project in RABID and how to do the specs for the project in RABID. I didn't know about anything like that. And just literally a month later, I'm like getting my life and editing my first project, and it's looking pretty damn good. Okay, so like fall back. So that's going really well. I'm really excited. And the great thing about the next project is that now we're actually editing, not just like, moving clips around, but we're going to be separating out sort of like video from audio, mixing that, doing that, adding in music, adding in sound effects, adding in ambient noise. And we're also going to be doing that in conjunction with like a script supervisor, like handbook, not a handbook, but basically if you're sitting in an actual editing room, this book with both the script and the script supervisor notes right next to each other basically is what you would get as an editor. And we're learning how to do all of those things and integrate all of those pieces into our editing workflows. And so that's really just given me my entire life. I mean, that's just, anyway, I'm loving it. I'm here for it. And actually, because I'm a grad student, I'm the only graduate student in that class. I actually have to do a separate project for it to like show my graduate studentness. And so I was enrolled in this course called Film Editing Pro. Actually, that's not the course. Those are the teachers and the people who made the course. The course itself is called The Art of Action Editing. And I had enrolled in it like months ago, but I had never started any of the modules or anything like that. I hadn't even downloaded the raw footage. So I presented that to my teacher and asked him if it would be okay for me to do that class alongside this class and like present to him my final project from that class. And he signed off on it. He's good on it. And so I'm in that class, basically. It was supposed to be a part of my creative uni, and it still is, but now I'm like forced to finish it this semester, which is great. And that class is amazing. I finished only modules 1 through 8 for that particular course, and it's really great. I mean, it gives you a really solid introduction, not only to the course and the materials and the software, but also just to like the psychological and conceptual side of action editing. And I think my favorite modules so far have been the fight choreography and the fight cinematography modules, as well as I believe it's called the psychology of action or fighting or fight scenes or something like that. Those 3 modules have been like the most educational and impactful for me. I mean, they're all good, but I really, really enjoyed those modules in particular, because it not only taught me about editing, it teaches me a lot about what I need to know as a director who wants to direct action films, specifically action films dealing with like martial arts, acrobatics, and foot chases. I don't mind like car chases and stuff like that, but I don't have money for that kind of stuff right now. And I haven't really developed the vision for car chases quite yet. because I frankly don't really see car chase. I mean, no offense, they could be really exciting, but I don't find them as exciting as, for example, the best shootout scene ever filmed, which was the one in Heat. So, like, fight scenes, foot chases, shootouts, I find those personally like the most exciting. Horseback riding, I actually even find more exciting than car chases because there are a lot of different. I think it's because there's like a lot of different variables that come into play with horseback riding. Um, there are more things that can go wrong with a horse. Horses are more vulnerable. The rider of the horse is more vulnerable because you're basically exposed on top of this, like, I don't know, 200 to 300 pound creature, 400 pound creature. If it falls on you, you could die. You know what I'm saying? There's a bunch of different things that don't really factor into a car chase as much as it would into like a foot chase, a horseback riding, or or a martial arts scene or a shootout. But I do love chase scenes, and so this class is really great for getting that aspect of it. And I just love how I'm taking these two classes together because the art of action editing and the editing film class I'm taking at school, basically they complement each other perfectly because the editing class is giving me all the technical stuff that I need to know, and along with some conceptual stuff, along with the fact that my teacher in that class is a documentary editor. So he's teaching it, with narrative editing in mind, but he's bringing a lot of documentary perspective in mind, to the class. So I'm getting all of that, but then with the art of action editing, they don't deal with like technical, like these are the keys that you press. They deal more with like the conceptual, creative editing aspect of it, like helping you to figure out what pieces to put together and how to do that. And they're coming at it from like a very hardcore action, fighting perspective. And so to me, these two classes are really going to set a really solid foundation for me for what I want to do just in general, as a director and as an editor, because I will be doing both. Okay. Let's see, anything else? I'm taking my other classes are cool. Contemporary trends. I'm still wrapping my head around a lot of the concepts, and just trying my best to make art based on these brand new concepts, like non-linear, non-text based concepts. Just trying to do that as much as I possibly can. I really am learning a lot. Our last class, or at least not our last class, but the last class I was able to go to, dealt with like using light, and I'm just like in love with light now. I mean, we're using like really low budget materials because the production we're putting on is sort of like a guerrilla theater production. And so the light lesson gave me a lot of really amazing ideas. And unfortunately, I missed class yesterday because, again, dealing with life and all this other craziness going on. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. And then I'm still dramaturging the musical for the Addams Family, although the bulk of that work will probably be done by the end of the month. Dealing with the program notes, finishing the actors packet, and the protocol, everything that I need to do is pretty much going to be done. And then in October is going to be about focusing on the lobby display, focusing on audience engagement, social media, and focusing on the pre-show and the post-show. So that's pretty much how my semester is dividing up. Anyway, so whatever. Sometimes I feel kind of bad for rambling on about graduate school, but because it's a major part of my creative training as like basically a novelist, screenwriter, I guess theater maker now, and film director, like I feel like I need to talk about this program. And again, like if you're interested in applying to the program, we will be recruiting for the new class for fall 2019, and we'll be doing that in fall 2018 to spring 2019. So you can also find that link below if you're interested. Okay. So having said all of that, grad school, because it was in my ass, I basically got like zero, like literally zero writing done. And I'm not feeling good about it. So you could feel free to judge me, and that's cool. You should judge me because I need to be writing every single day, but I just was not able to do that this week. And it sucks. Like I hate looking at my calendar, my little writing calendar, and seeing like a line of zeros. Like it really makes me pissed off. But at the very least, unlike with last year, at the least what I was sacrificing my writing for was still very fruitful to my creative development. So I don't feel as bad as I could. If I had literally sacrificed my writing just to do a bunch of like theoretical stuff, I would have been really pissed. But, sometimes you can't balance everything. But this week I'm going to really try to like improve on, I hope that my computer just fell asleep. And I really hope that that did not interrupt my entire thing going on here. Let me just open my energy saver preferences. And I'm sorry to do this on the podcast. As you guys know, this is like kind of like a guerrilla warfare type of podcast. And, sometimes you just got to take a minute to do some technical stuff. All right, I think we're good. And I lost my train of thought. But yeah, no, I was just saying, like, my writing, like, I'm trying to get back on that this week. We'll see what happens. But last week, I just had to, like, take a week off and just focus on getting caught up with graduate school. And as a good point, I did get caught up. So I'm pretty much on track where I need to be. And after this weekend, I should be pretty golden. So having said that, I also had my Addams Family presentation. So I had my... Oh my goodness. Like, this wasn't this week, this was last week. But just at the last minute, I had to do a dramaturgical protocol presentation for the Addams Family musical. And I did it. I kicked ass. The presentation looks great. And every single part of that presentation is going right on the website, so it could double count for my work. But I admit getting that notice at the last minute was not cool. But it is what it is. Like, you have to learn how to roll with the punches. Not everything's going to be on schedule when it comes to theater, art making, and even film direction. So, I was really proud of myself because I was able to get that notice at the last minute and still produce some kick-ass work and some kick-ass material at the last minute. And now, like, it's done and it's under my belt. And so it really helped to prepare me not just intellectually, but sort of physically and emotionally for those things that could go wrong on like a film production set or just in pre-production, producing in both theater and film. So that's really cool. Oh, another piece of sad news for me, not for you guys, I guess, but I had to drop Russian, guys, and I'm just so sad about it. Like, the great side of it is that because I spent a month studying it, I at least can speak a little bit of it, and I can recognize the alphabet. I know the alphabet, and I can read it, which is great. Even if I have no idea like what the words are, like I can read and pronounce it on paper, which is great, So I'm trying to like look at the bright side of it. Another bright side is that I still have my dictionaries, my verb conjugation book, and my actual textbook and the online course. So I can actually do the online course to my leisure and casually whenever I want. And I actually might do that. I might maybe take like an hour a week or something, something light, and just like review my Russian, work on Russian, because I still want to master that language. Russian and German. Those are like the other two languages sort of I want to get under my belt. German more, not because I actually like want to learn it, but because I feel compelled to. I was born in Germany, but I didn't grow up there, so I can't really speak it. So that's kind of sad. So I want to be able to go back and just like communicate. Anyway, so I had to drop that because it was just like weighing too heavily. There was like too much going on just in my life in general. And then like also like with my work, my actual workload, it was like a little too much. I also inherited about 1,000 papers. Today, actually, we have another assignment that we're collecting, and that will make 1,000 different assignments that I have to grade over the weekend. So you can see how crazy my life is right now. I have my 4 classes, including dramaturgy in the Addams Family musical, this stack of 1,000 different assignments to grade. I had to drop Russian, and then on top of it, I'm trying to like build up Rebel Ragdoll, work on my novels, work on my screenplays, work on my films, and also run New Adult Noir. It's a lot. I'm going to do it, though. It's fine. One thing at a time. One thing at a time. So I took a lot of L's this week. For those of you who are listening who have no idea what L's are, that's basically a losses. I took some losses, but like none of those failures came without like some kind of victory or gain. So I'm really excited about that. Okay. Let's see. What else did I do? I did the illest breakdown of Aristotle's Poetics. Again, like because I was studying that Oedipus play, we had to also read in conjunction with that, basically Aristotle's breakdown of Greek tragedy. And because we hadn't studied Greek tragedy formally in that class, in addition to presenting Oedipus Rex the play and the themes and the plot and the characters and the tragic flaw and all the typical stuff, I had to also teach the class essentially about Greek tragedy. And mind you, of all four of us in the cohort, I am the person with the least amount of experience with theater, so I don't really know how much, my colleagues already knew about Greek tragedy, but I broke that joint down, like a 4-page handout. Like I could tell you the 4 different types of tragedy, boo, all of Aristotle's sort of observations and requirements for a typical Greek tragedy, what exactly the tragic hero is and how he should emerge and what he should be doing, what the tragic deed is, the 3 different kinds of tragic deeds that the tragic hero commits. I mean, like there's like 6 different aspects of tragedy. Like I said, I can literally like just freak that entire lecture and break that joint down. And that's why I feel so excited, even though I'm like tired as hell. It's like I feel like I'm gaining actual knowledge and skills that I can use in my own work and that I can also use as like in a teaching capacity. And I did decide that if I do have to go back to New York and do something full time, I'm going to be joining, I'm crossing my fingers. I already talked to them about this and they're excited about it, but my friends are starting a charter school. And so regardless of what you guys might think about charter schools, and I totally understand it, my friends are starting it because they feel as though people of color in New York City in poor areas do not get the kind of education that they need. And this is like the public school kids. And I would agree 100%. I grew up mostly in New York, and my mother literally had to like do acrobatics through the educational system to make sure that we were all on the right track at every single stage of the process. From, literally from like kindergarten all the way up to 6th grade, I was in like a specialized magnet program for bright students. And then I went to the middle school version of that because it was basically like a feeder program. And right in middle school, my mom was thinking about high school, and like, because there's the high schools in Yonkers, the high schools in New York City, a lot of them are not good. And I'm talking about the public high schools. And so in middle school, my mother like helped me apply to this amazing preparation program called Prep for Prep 9, which I will give them all my money once I start making some real money. So if you guys are watching this, if I haven't given you money, it's not because I don't want to. It's because I like literally don't have any. But if I ever become a millionaire, I will certainly become like one of the major patrons of Prep 9, because they really changed my life. They prepared me for going away to boarding school. And that's eventually where I went. I went away to Hotchkiss, for those of you guys who don't know me. Really great boarding school. We had some social and cultural clashes and social cultural issues there. I'm not going to lie. Because again, we're dealing with like elite white people. I mean, not to be a hater, but that's just what it is. And they don't have much exposure to different people of different backgrounds. So there were some clashes, there were some issues, but for the most part, I don't think I appreciated it as much then as I do now. But who I am today was basically forged in my high school years and then in my later college years. And so my mom, like I said, basically went through all of that to help me get into the best schools. And I've always been, from that point on, like pretty much educated at some really amazing elite universities. And I don't say that to brag, I really don't, but I say that to say that I am lucky. Most people do not have that opportunity. And so when I think about what I want to do after I leave here, and I have, my bachelor's behind me, I have my MS in sociology behind me with, all this professional training in statistics and social, analysis and research. And then I have like my experiences as a mom and a business owner and as an independent author and indie entrepreneur behind me, plus now this training in theater and writing and film. Like, this is going to be my last degree. And I really want to take all of that, you know, my language skills, everything that I bring to the table as Colby R. Rice, and really start to make an impact. So I say all that to say, because I've mentioned my two friends opening a charter school, I want to help them. I want to help them build a better educational system. I want to help children who are underserved, underprivileged, and disenfranchised to have a good education. So I will be joining up with them after I graduate here to help them create a language program. Like a massive language program. Definitely an arts program, focusing specifically on creative writing, screenwriting, filmmaking, theater. And I'm going to try to get my friend on board to do maybe some comic stuff. So helping them put together that kind of arts program with like other arts involved in it. And I also want to be in charge of helping them put together their social studies curriculum and their civic engagement curriculum. Because I think social studies and history are a different situation than civic engagement. Like, you learn history, you learn about social issues, about social problems in social studies. You learn about race, gender, class, intersectionality, movements and stuff in your social studies class. But in civic engagement class, like, I want to teach students and young people how to become politically and civically active in their communities. Like, if there's something on their block that they hate, like, they're, you know, even if it's something simple like the sidewalks are cracked, right? Like, they need the sidewalks fixed. Like, I want them to know exactly who to go to, how to get their attention, how to write letters to their local ombudsman, to their congressmen, to their senators, to their representatives. I want them to know about every single stage and step involved in our political system, and I want to help them be able to navigate that. Because we're not taught that. We're basically just taught to like be sheep in our society, and I want to teach these kids, like, who are going to be just massively prepared for the world, how to engage with and change that world. And also, if they want to get more involved in politics, they need to be exposed to it. So building a civic engagement program, literally, like, it's going to be called Civic Engagement and Current Events. Every single day, the teacher in charge needs to be on top of the current events, what's going on in the world, discussing it with the students, what's going on in the community, helping the students, you know, get in contact with their local representatives and stuff like that. Like, I want education that is formalized on civic engagement. And then, of course, I want a financial literacy program teaching them about savings, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, Roth IRA. I don't care. They're going to get the whole thing, because I've been very inspired by Dr. Boyce Watkins and his entire financial literacy movement and program. I've been sponsored. It's such an interesting word. I've been inspired by the Black Dollars Matters movement, where I feel like African Americans, especially if you're a creator, need to start thinking about where their dollars are going and how to make their money work for them, not only for themselves, but also to build up the community. So anyway, that's like a long tangent, but I say that to say that I'm excited about all the things I'm learning, because not only is it going to be beneficial to me, but I see myself being able to marshal that into a force that is going to be an institutional game changer. And I'm really excited about that. And that's actually just in addition to what I want to do as Rebel Ragdoll, because, you know, I might teach for a few years, and I actually will probably always be a teacher, you know, but I might not do it full time. But my main thing is to also create a company where I can literally get creators of color, transgender creators, you know, non-heteronormative conforming creators, female creators in to tell their stories. And I want to be able to pay them and employ them and hire them. Eventually, you know, down the line. So I'm trying to do a whole bunch of things, both for myself and for the community. And I really am happy that what I'm doing now feels as though it's going to provide a really great foundation for that. Okay, so moving on. Oh gosh, I'm really thinking about trying to make this more applicable to you guys too. I don't know how interested you are in hearing about just my journey, but I kind of feel like compelled to like come to the table with like a lesson of the day or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I'm still trying to get my bearings. I promise you guys I will have the structure of this show figured out by episode 50. All right. I'm going to make that promise to you guys. All right. So, went to my first musical rehearsal, which was the Addams Family musical. It was really entertaining, but it was also very educational. So I'm excited about being a part of that process. What else? Let's see. Oh, yes. Guys, major accomplishment for me. So you guys know that, and this is actually in like the larger context of what I was saying a few seconds ago. You know that a part of of the Rebel Ragdoll Fempire, right, is the Dollhouse Foundation. Okay, that's the fifth arm of the Rebel Ragdoll Fempire, and that is the charitable and philanthropic arm. And I commissioned and got back our logo. And I'm just so excited. I'm just so excited. We have two logos. We have a text logo, and then we have a text and avatar logo. They are sassy, they are beautiful, they are elegant, and I am loving it. And I'm just happy now that I finally have a graphic representation of the dollhouse, because Rebel Ragdoll Press has a logo and an avatar. Chick Rogue Studios, and it hasn't even opened yet, has a logo and avatar. Rebel Ragdoll Productions has its logo and avatar, and then The Bohemian Badass has its banner. I actually should consider getting like another logo for The Bohemian Badass together, but I don't know like if I really need it, you know? Anyway, so I'll make the decision when that decision comes, but every single subsidiary of Rebel Ragdoll had its logo except for the dollhouse. And so now it just makes the dollhouse feel so much more authentic. It makes it feel real. It makes it feel like it's like on point. And at least in the right direction. There's so much more I have to do for the dollhouse, including getting some legal advice and turning it into an actual foundation. But it's just put us on the right track, and I'm just really happy. The next step, of course, now that I have all my logos ready, is to pursue incorporation, like legal incorporation for my subsidiaries, alongside or underneath, I guess, if you're looking at it hierarchically. Hierarchically. I can't even say that word. How can I be a writer and a speaker if I cannot speak? Anyway, alongside the Rebel Ragdoll brand logo. So I'm going to try to get some legal consultation in the next 2 weeks or so. Not this weekend because I have too much to do, but probably the week after next, when I sort of have like a lighter week on me. I'll probably go and do that and figure out what I need to do, because the final quarter of the year is upon us, ladies and gentlemen, and that fact has not been lost on me. I'm thinking about that as I look at my line of zeros on my writing calendar, and thinking about the 3 books, or at least the 2 books I want to release before the end of the year. I'm really thinking about the final quarter of the year, and so I want to just make sure that I am headed towards completion. Really, September all the way up to December 31st for me is not about really starting anything new. I might have new ideas and things that I'm thinking about, but I'm really just focused on finishing and releasing Hollow Point, finishing and releasing the first book in the Hitman of Happily Ever After series, just finishing up the incorporation of Rebel Ragdoll as like a brand and a business, closing out some contracts, just like wrapping a whole bunch of things up by December so that I can hit the ground running January 1st or January whenever. Because I usually start like the first Monday of January, and that's usually not the first. It's usually like the 4th or something like that. So yeah, that's sort of what I'm aiming for. Finishing up my migration from ConvertKit to MailerLite, just a whole bunch of different finishes that I'm trying to work on. So the dollhouse is certainly a part of that really great feeling that I have as we come towards the end of the year. So one more update before I give you sort of like a semi-major update. I told you guys a few episodes ago that I cannot speak today, that I will be trying out the Dragon speaking, naturally speaking software. I think it's officially called Dragon Naturally Speaking. I think that's what it's called. And there's different versions of it, the professional version, the medical version, the home version, and it's all created by the company Nuance. I'm still going to try that out. I will not start it until the beginning of the fourth quarter, because there's just certain things I have to wrap up, both financially and just like project wise for September. And I sort of want to focus on that before starting something new. But that final quarter will be about like getting a hold of like my Dragon dictation skills. And so that's still forthcoming. So pay attention to that, or stay tuned for that. And then the semi-major update, it's not really, I guess, not that major, but it's cool and interesting, is that I appeared on the Fantasy Fiends podcast with Andy Peliquin. At least I think that's how you say his last name. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it, Andy, my bad. And Stevie Collier. And they were really awesome to talk to. The topic of the podcast for that day was called Afrofuturism. And I spoke a lot about not only just what it was, the concept, the genre, but I also talked about some of the political discussions and debates amongst the community of Black indie creators who deal with Afrofuturism. They asked me some really insightful, amazing questions. I mean, I was really impressed with their level of preparation that they had. We talked about not just Afrofuturism specifically, but also what exactly makes a text Afrofuturistic. Like, can the lead character be Black and that's the only requirement? Be Black and be in a sci-fi context for it to be an Afrofuturistic work. And I found that very interesting because we've had a lot of debates about that within the community, within certain communities that I have decided to sort of depart from since. But there were some majorly different schools of thought about what Afrofuturistic texts look like. For some people, it was good enough just to have a Black lead in a sci-fi context. For others, you literally had to go back to Africa and deal with African culture and intertwine that with a futuristic science fiction or fantasy perspective. And so it was interesting. Like it was sort of like there was a meta conversation going on. Like, that was the superficial conversation, but the meta conversation going on is, how woke are you as a Black person? That's basically what was going on. There was some sort of like interesting, how Black are you, conversations happening. And, I happen to be on the side of, if a Black creator wants to create a sci-fi novel or a fantasy novel and just use the Black lead as like their point of entry or their point of Blackness, I felt like that was okay. Other people in the community did not think that that was good enough. Some people think it's not good enough to just be a Black creator writing about Black people. You have to dive into what they consider the quote authentic Black culture. And so issues of Black culture are really coming into play and coming into discussion. And, for me personally, I grew up in a Black urban and suburban context. I don't really, and I would love to learn more about African mythology, Afro-Caribbean mythology, culture, language, mores, things. I mean, I'm completely open to it 1000%. But the bottom line is that when I'm writing, for example, the books of Ezekiel specifically, because I don't know all of the ins and outs of like real Nigerian culture, for example, I can't really inject that into my work without it looking forced or without being basically inaccurate. So I write a lot of my work from the perspective in which that I've held for over 30 years, which is a Black, female, urban, suburban perspective. And I think that personally is okay. That doesn't mean that people do not appear in my work. Like, we have Africans, Afro-Caribbeans in my work, in the books of Ezekiel, in my other series that I'm writing, absolutely. But I feel like right now the perspective that is the most genuine and authentic for me is that Black female suburban urban perspective. So and for those of you who don't know any Black people beyond stereotypes, it doesn't mean that she's speaking in Ebonics or doing something hood or ghetto. That's not what that means for me. That means just putting her in context that and situations that she might deal with, when she's around her neighborhood, or just putting her in her neighborhood but in a futuristic context. You know what I'm saying? So very interesting conversations. And personally, I think that we need all different kinds of Afrofuturistic texts and novels. I don't think everybody should be trying to do the Back to Africa thing, not because it's not important, but because I like diversity. And I feel as though honoring not just the African roots, but Afro-Caribbean culture and African American culture are all very important parts of building a Black consciousness in Afrofuturism, period. There are people who are Black and British, and their perspectives are important as well. They might have a combination of like the British or the UK perspective and the African perspective, and I think that that's important. So, and for me, I like to also I like to try new things and to learn new things and to integrate those new things into my works. But I also kind of just want to stay in my lane. Like if there's a Nigerian sci-fi writer or like a Ethiopian or Sudanese sci-fi writer who wants to deal with sci-fi in Sudan and in his culture, I'm gonna step back and let him rock. I'm gonna let him rock his perspective and let him shine, because he's gonna know more about that perspective and that context than I ever will studying it. And I just prefer just to be like, listen, I probably can't write this because I don't know about it, but I would love to feature you on my podcast or my blog. I would love to read your work. I would love to promote your work. I just kind of feel like it's okay to allow those individuals from those cultures to take part and participate in culture making and in trend setting in Afrofuturism, as opposed to feeling like I, as the Black American, have to cover the entire diaspora. I don't. And so anyway, so that was a conversation that we had on the podcast, and that was my little introduction to you as to the very interesting conversations that are happening in the Afrofuturistic sort of indie creative circles. But I did appear in that podcast. We talked about Afrofuturism, but we also talked about how to write multicultural characters. These two guys, they said this about themselves. I did not say this. They said that they are the two whitest guys I will ever meet. I don't know about that. I've met a lot of white people who are very white, whatever that might mean to you guys. But it was really funny. So they were asking me all these questions as a Black author, how I deal with making a person multicultural and three-dimensional, and including culture, including that person's culture, but without whittling them down to just culture, without sounding stereotypical. Do we have the right to do certain things? How should we approach other things? And I just felt very, I don't know, it made me feel really good to know that there are writers out there who are who, if they include a multicultural perspective, that they're doing it sort of actively interrogating their own stereotypes or their own deep-seated sort of perspectives, that they are actively trying to work against the tropes and the labels and the stereotypes that are out there in the media that do not give multicultural characters a three-dimensional perspective. And so I really appreciated that, and I hope that all writers, whether you're white, Black, Asian, Hispanic, Native American, whatever, I hope that we all approach our work with the same conscientious attitude so that we are not misrepresenting other people. And for me, there are certainly different levels of sort of privilege and ways of going about dealing with culture, but all of us to some extent can very easily fall into the trap of caricaturizing other cultures. And I feel like even if you're a person of color, even if you're of the LGBTQ community, even if you're a woman, even if you're differently abled, you still need to actively interrogate your own biases and figure out how to represent other people of different backgrounds in a three-dimensional manner, because we all, again, we can't all cover it all. You know, just because I'm black does not mean that I automatically have the key to knowing how to represent people. I don't, because I'm black, but I know nothing about a bunch of cultures in the world. And before I start to engage with that culture on a fictional level, I need to check myself, check my privileges, check my power, check my biases, you know, check my stereotypes, interrogate those things. And this is not a realm for just white people. This is a realm for everyone. Although I would say that the stakes are a little bit higher or lower depending on who you are as a person. If you're like a double minority, or you have, you know, you're, for example, like you're you're a person of color, and you're of the LGBTQ community, and you know, you're poor, you have more things to deal with institutionally than other people. I'm not going to lie about that. But still, if you're writing as a creator, or if you're writing or just making stuff as a creator, you have to be very aware of how you're interpreting and representing people. And I think that's really going to be about it. Maybe I entitled this podcast the wrong thing. Grad school is dark and full of terrors. It is. But I am the light. I am the black obsidian light up in this piece. And grad school did get a hold of me and shake the shit out of me this past week. But I'm surviving and I'm learning a lot. And so I'm just actually filled with a lot of gratitude. I've been filled with stress, but also a lot of gratitude. And you guys will notice I didn't actually give you any updates on this week, like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and today. I'm actually going to save that for next Monday. Just because my podcast for last week was late doesn't mean I have to like ruin the next podcast. So Sunday evening, I will be recording my podcast telling you about this week, from September 11th all the way up until the end of this week, which I believe is September 18th, I think, or 17th. So yes, until next week, write, create, film, do whatever it is you need to do to express your creativity. I would love it if you guys could just like put out some good vibes for me so I can get back on track with my writing, so I don't have another week full of zeros. But if you can't, or you won't, or you don't, or whatever, that's cool too. But just wish me the best of luck, because I'm trying to get Hollow Point done as soon as humanly possible. But in the meantime, chill. Actually, you should have no chill. You should just like write as much as possible, but then take breaks. And I will see you guys next time. All right, stay badass, stay creative, and I'll talk to you guys on Monday.